Well, folks, the markets are tanking once again. What a week. What a way to start off the week. We're still on the Sunday evening here, US time, and basically the Ethereum has already kind of crashed to 1600s now. Not too far away from my targets of 1500. If you've been watching my videos, you know I set out it's going to go to the A, B, C path. I'll show you guys on the charts. And Bitcoin has also dipped below 80K at 78, 79K right now. This is going to be a massive week, right? I'm going to try to get you guys prepared for what's going to happen this week and what news to watch out for. Usually, the news we watch out for is more about like the PCE inflation numbers or the non-farm payrolls numbers or even company earnings. This week is going to be very special. This week is going to be tariff week. It's going to be all about tariff week and seeing who is going to rescue the US stock market. Because without Trump, I don't think he's going to do it because he's not going to back down. It's all about saving face for Trump. It's too public for him. Then we're going to need the Fed to come in, the Federal Reserve to come in and save the US markets, because if they don't, then we could potentially be looking at another March 2020 situation. I can't believe I'm saying that because it's kind of getting out of hand. So basically, that's where we are. First, that's let's see where what I was talking about was the ABC pullback situation. So for all these charts, I said we're doing an A, B, C path, right? And the C, I was aiming for it to hit 73K. Hasn't quite hit yet, but look at this. Look at this for Ethereum. It already has, but how far can it go? It's exactly what I said, A, B, C, right? Now, a lot of folks were saying that maybe we have a relative strength because everything else went down and stocks crashed and Bitcoin didn't and crypto didn't go down. I was saying specifically, don't believe in it. And people just watching my last video, my very last video, knew I was talking using this analogy of two guys jogging. But before we get into all of that, first let's answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo Jimenez use? Well, Pablo uses this exchange that is non-KYC, which means you don't need to show any ID. That means Americans can use it. The exchange can't even see who you are. That means the IRS can't see you, the CIA can't see you, the IRS, the tax office, nobody can see you. And but there's over $8,000 worth of newbie prizes just by joining and trading. Already over 1.3 mil users, largest non-KYC exchange in the world, right? So, but only on this link that I'm showing you guys. If you're watching on YouTube, the Pablo link is in the description below. The link is in the description below. But if you're watching on some other platform, such as this one, then basically just click on my profile page and it's on this Stan link here. So basically, it's the first thing that comes up in the Stan link because this is a big deal for Pablo. And so first link right there. Okay, but remember, only on the link Pablo is providing. Let's get back to the markets. So with ETH, for example, for new folks who are tuning in, my target was something like 1530s, and we're pretty much almost already there. What did ETH do? 1555. Okay. So, and Bitcoin hasn't even hit 73K yet, and stocks hasn't even dumped yet. Why is this happening? So you cannot rule out like some sort of pullback to if Bitcoin hits 73K. You cannot rule out the probability of ETH actually hitting something like this, like 14, even 13. It's going to shoot past my target once again. Now, why is this? Why is ETH doing this on a Sunday evening like this? Once again, it's because the U.S. futures are about to open. The market is anticipating a bad week coming up for U.S. stock market, and therefore it's front running it by shorting and selling stuff. The stocks market are not open. The futures market don't open for another 20 minutes because right now it's like 4:40 U.S. Central Time in the afternoon. Not for another 20 minutes. The SP 500, the Nasdaq index futures do not open. So the only thing they could sell, and that is risk off for them, and that's risky assets in their mind, is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana and all these coins. So basically they're dumping these coins right now, and that is why we are seeing this very red, very negative dump already today, because once again the crypto market is front running the stock market, because the stock market is closed on the weekend. Even the futures market doesn't open for another 15-20 minutes, and so they're just selling what they can, which is crypto right now. So for this week, what will put an end to this whole market dump? Just quickly to catch you up, guys, on what all the tariff and trade news is all about. What caused the dump on Friday and now on Sunday leading into Monday is basically this. When Trump announced his tariffs, it was quite high, and people were like panicking, and investors were panicking because it's about to start a trade war, and this is really bad. The last time US had tariffs this high, it was 1929, and it kind of caused the Great Depression. So the problem is this. They hope that Trump, by using these scare tactics, by bluffing these other countries like China, European Union, Japan, Korea, India, they hope that all these countries will just kneel down and very quickly and just say, okay, we accept our punishment. We will lower our tariffs against the United States, against America. And could you then please, Mr. Trump, lower your tariffs against us as well? Then we can get trade and things back to normal. Well, that was Thursday. It didn't happen because China came out on Friday and said, no, we're going to hit right back with 34% reciprocal tariffs on United States. As soon as that happened, US markets tanked because they're like, wow, that's like kind of the second largest trading partner to the US, and trade war is kind of on, because once China leads by example, there are going to be other countries who want to stand up for themselves and fight back. So second big one is European Union. And when the European Union basically also tries to fight back, right, then you have two of the largest trading partners of the US fighting back now. Of course, the European Union is trying to negotiate. Let me show you guys. But it's not all that smooth, because part of the European Union is saying, look, let's negotiate, but we have our own tariffs prepared for you as well. If you do not behave, if you attack us, we'll attack back. We've got the means to attack back, and this is going to become a full-blown trade war. But let's just negotiate. So they're showing the carrot. The European Union is showing the carrot and showing the stick, right? The carrot as an incentive, as a reward to do the right thing, and the stick to hit you if you don't do the right thing. So basically, it's like this. Why are the stock markets panicking, and that's dragging down crypto as well? Is because of this. The stock market basically saw European Union try to negotiate, but also getting prepared to hit the United States as well. They are hitting US on $28 billion of tariffs, and that's just one industry. There could be more. From memory, that's like wine and cheese and a lot of agricultural produce. And you might think, who cares about wine and cheese? Well, Trump cares, because that would hit US farmers. And a lot of Trump voters are from the wheat belt, right? The EU is not targeting Hollywood or California. They're targeting Trump backers, right? Anyways, but the news I just showed you guys, this was even bigger, because EU could hit US back on online services, right? What they call digital tariff, because the natural assumption is that the United States is going to win in a trade war. Why would the United States win in a trade war? Because compared to countries like China, to the EU, US imports a lot more than it exports. It imports a lot more than it exports. So therefore, it can tariff a lot of imports from China, from Vietnam, from European Union, from Japan. But the other countries, because they don't import as much from the United States, when they tariff that, the US doesn't hurt as much. But that's wrong. That's an error in thinking, because the United States trade deficit with China, with EU, with a lot of countries is in goods export, meaning like stuff you produce, right? Like DJI drones or whatever that China produces, or iPhones that China produces, or India produces, whatever. But in services, US has a trade surplus, not deficit, surplus with China, with EU. What I mean by services, like when you use Microsoft Windows, that's software as a service. When you use Google or Instagram, Facebook, that's a service because you use it to search for something, you use it to look at your Facebook, look at your Instagram, look at the hot models and your favorite soccer player on Instagram, and they show you ads, commercials in return. That's a service. So basically, kids from China or from Europe going to United States for college, that's paying for educational service, right? A lot of foreign students study at good American universities. People traveling to the United States for tourism, that's called a service because you're not selling them any tangible goods, right? You're selling an experience. So all of that, US actually exports more or makes more money from foreigners than China or EU makes from the US. So that's what makes this so significant. Because if the EU decides to hit back on this, then basically, what's a digital tariff that the EU is talking about? That would be things like what I just said, Microsoft, Windows, Facebook, Google, right? Amazon. Those platforms make 49%, almost half their money outside of the United States. And a lot of that, they're not in China, by the way, but a lot of that is in Europe, Canada, Australia, these countries. So if France and Germany and these European countries decide to hit back on the United States on that front, then US would be in a lot of trouble because the largest 7 companies in the US would all get hit, including Tesla, which sells goods, EV cars. And this trade war can then escalate. And then if the rest of the world sees that European Union and China, right, together they make up like 40% of the world's GDP, are fighting a trade war against the US, then a lot of small countries would be motivated or encouraged or find the courage to join that side and say, hey, we have to fight back. I'll show you why they're fighting back, because have a look at this. Now, as I said from day one, this is the actual real tariffs that these countries have on the United States. Have a look. But this is the fake numbers that Trump calculated. As I showed you guys in my video 4 days ago, that these countries actually have nowhere near 67, 64% tariffs on the United States. It's all fake news. It's made up numbers. I showed you guys how the US calculated these numbers. The real tariff China has on US is 3%. The real tariff Taiwan has on US is 1.7%. From India, 12%. From Indonesia, 5.3%. But Trump claims they have 67%. These are just made up numbers. I showed you guys a few videos ago exactly how they made up those numbers. So now you imagine for China to negotiate, they're more than happy to say, for example, we will lower 3% tariffs to 0. And Taiwan could say, we will lower our 1.7% tariffs to 0. Could you now lower your 34% tariffs against us, whether that be China, Taiwan, Indonesia, South Africa, to 0 as well, please? Of course, Trump's not going to do it. Trump's going to ask something for something big in return. What Trump's going to ask for is something like he's going to ask for China, sell me TikTok, 50% of the shares in TikTok, right? He already asked that. He already asked for that in return for reducing tariffs. Trump already asked that. China said no. That's why China hit back with 34% tariffs. Trump's going to ask the Taiwan for it to relocate TSMC, the largest semiconductors manufacturer in the world, into United States. Move this factory into the United States, so now all the best CPUs, all the semiconductor chips, all the GPUs, well, a lot of it will be manufactured inside the United States, right? It's not about tariffs. It's actually Trump trying to get leverage for himself so he can use this against these other countries. For the EU, you already know what he's going to ask for. He's going to ask the EU to back off Ukraine, stop supporting Ukraine with money and weapons, so then Ukraine could collapse and come to Zelensky, could come to Trump and beg him again, and sign that $500 billion mineral deal. That's going to bankrupt Ukraine for a few generations more to come. I'm not, and of course he's going to ask the European Union to give over Greenland, not to put up a fight over it. I'm not saying these things are right or wrong. I'm not here to comment on politics. I'm just saying that Trump's strategy with tariffs is not really because other people are putting big tariffs on US, so he wants to take down those tariffs. It's like 3%, 4%, 5%. It's nothing. Even if those countries take it down, Trump has 34% tariffs on these other countries. It's not going to work. So anyways, I think what Trump's basically trying to put these extreme pressure, trying to put these high tariffs on these other countries so that it forces them to come to the negotiating table and to bend over. And when they bend over, Trump's going to ask them for something other than tariffs, like selling TikTok, like backing off Ukraine, like not, like giving up Greenland, like moving TSMC, GPU, CPU factories to the United States. So this is going to be a huge week to watch. And it's basically all going to be about tariff week. Okay, to all the Aussies, Pablo uses SwiftTex exchange, and my link is in the description below. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll catch you guys next episode.